In Afghanistan, a group of army trucks travels to the middle of nowhere to help a convoy that has been stuck on the road for a while. A staff sergeant angrily starts complaining about the waste of time, but this is just a way to tease his brother, who is also a soldier. While the staff sergeant fixes a truck, his brother tells him that they should be on the front lines and that they should join the Army Rangers. At first the staff sergeant isn't interested, but his brother reminds him they made a promise to fight together to change his mind. Suddenly a missile hits a truck, blowing it up and making everyone else fall back. Soon Taliban insurgents are opening fire at the convoy, so the soldiers rush to get their weapons and fire back. Trucks keep blowing up and the staff sergeant runs to try to take cover, but an explosion knocks him out. When he wakes up, he painfully removes a piece of metal from his leg. Then he looks around and discovers he's the only soldier who survived the attack. He crawls to his brother's side and has a breakdown at the sight of his dead body. 2 years later, the staff sergeant wakes up on a bus after dreaming about the incident again. He wears a brace on his wounded leg and has to take antidepressants. The bus drops him off at the Ranger training base in Colorado, where he joins the assessment selection program. In the welcome hall, they must hand over anything personal and put their names, papers, and ranks inside a bag. Every recruit is assigned a number and the staff sergeant gets 81. Because of his record he could be assigned team leader, but he turns it down. Afterward, First Sergeant Torres gives them a speech about what to expect. Training will last 8 weeks and it will be extremely difficult to test their emotional, physical, and mental strength. If they make it to the final stage, they'll undertake a 24-hour simulated mission known as Death March, which is completed by crossing the finish line. That's the only way to be eligible to be a ranger. The training begins with the classic courses that test how fit and fast they are, although many rangers throw water at them to simulate rain. It's basic army exercises, but at the end of it, several soldiers are still kicked out for failing it. The second round is more exercise. This time it includes working out at night in the rain and staying underwater for long periods of time. As days pass, more and more recruits are kicked out. After 4 weeks, training continues in the woods. The other soldiers chat and get to know each other, but 81 runs alone ahead of everyone. By the time the others arrive, he's already going back. The recruits tease him for it, but he ignores them. During meals, 81 sits alone as well. The next exercises include climbing a rope over a river and hand-to-hand combat, so 81 keeps proving that he's better than everyone else. One afternoon, Torres asks the recruits if they have experience on the field, and only a few of them do. When it's 81's turn to share, the mood turns awkward because most of the recruits know what happened to his convoy. After a day of shooting practice, the team goes to have dinner and those who know about 81 tell the story to those who don't. It turns out 81 carried his brother 10 miles back to the base and got a silver star for it. When they try to ask 81 about it, the recruits are scolded for gossiping and punished with more exercise. On the news, reporters talk about NASA detecting an asteroid that will pass near Earth soon. As days pass, the exercises get harder and more recruits are kicked out. 81 always waits until everyone is asleep to take his medicine, but one night 7 sees him. The next day during a break, 7 guesses the meaning of one of 81's tattoos but doesn't explain how he knows, leaving him confused. The next few training sessions include simulations of rescue missions and combat. The explosions may be fake, but they also bring back 81's nightmares about the incident. For the next underwater exercise, 81 forces himself to keep moving by remembering his brother and his failure to rescue him, not wanting to be that slow ever again. This causes him to stay underwater for too long and he almost drowns, so the other soldiers have to pull him out and give him CPR. Later 81 is waiting outside his superior's office and watches the news, which announces that the asteroid is splitting apart. Experts believe this may be a cluster of smaller interstellar bodies after all. In the office, Torres and Sheridan advise 81 to quit because they're worried about his mental condition. He doesn't socialize and never got therapy after the incident. The sergeants think he's the most promising candidate, so they want him to quit instead of having to kick him out. After an initial outburst, 81 politely turns them down and leaves the office. When the inadequate recruits are kicked out, 81 thinks he's about to be kicked out. However, he's one of the few soldiers who has passed the course. Now the team has 30 minutes to gear up for the final test. The team celebrates their victory, but 81 stays stoic. In the hangar, Torres shows them a map of the terrain and goes over the deathmatch details. A classified aircraft was shot down behind enemy lines, so their mission is to cross the enemy's territory and destroy the aircraft so it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. Then they must find the rebel village to rescue the pilot. To everyone's surprise, 81 is assigned to be the team leader. The recruits get on the choppers, which quickly take off. They recognize most of the area because of their training, but there's a space they can't identify. A ranger tells them it's a private quarry, and if they come across that, they're way off course. Eventually the team is dropped off and they immediately hide in the woods. 81 doesn't know how to give a speech, so 7 takes over and shares some inspiring words. The group travels the whole day and only stops at night to rest. While on guard duty, 7 tries to share something personal, but 81 doesn't want to hear it. Minutes later, something glowing lands nearby, causing the whole area to tremble. After the initial shock, the team theorizes that it was just artillery fire and they're being punished for resting. 81 decides it's time to keep moving. The next morning the team sees an aircraft across the stream. It's not a normal model, so they think the Rangers put extra effort into the special effects. 81 starts making a plan, but a soldier interrupts to point out that this aircraft isn't on the coordinates they were given. He also says that his compass isn't working. The others check their own compasses and discover they're malfunctioning too. 111 then informs that he doesn't have a signal on the comms either. He only picks up a weird interference. Assuming this is all part of the test, the team splits to follow the plan. After a bunch of birds fly away in fear, 81 notices something glowing in the distance. He heads toward it while 3 soldiers begin setting up explosives on the ship. When 81 finds the glowing, he's shocked to see the sunlight bouncing on the actual aircraft from the mission and immediately runs back. The explosives blow up, but they cause absolutely no damage to the strange aircraft. Suddenly it starts glowing and moving to transform into a standing machine. This robot uses a blue laser to scan the area and a red one to scan the team. Then it reveals a weapon and opens fire, so the soldiers run to take cover. Unfortunately, a few of them are shot down. Then the robot starts attacking the soldiers in hiding spots, killing even more people. When 44 is about to get shot, 81 tackles her to save her and tells everyone to escape. As the team runs through the woods, the robot keeps firing at them from the stream. It brings down trees and kills several men. Eventually the team is cornered on the edge of a cliff and the robot throws a bomb at them. It explodes in front of them and throws them down the cliff, causing them to get severely hurt as they crash into trees or rocks. A man lands on top of a branch that pierces his chest, while another one breaks his spine on a rock. When 81 lands, he remembers losing the whole convoy during the incident and the images keep getting mixed with his current injured team. To snap out of it, 81 grabs his broken fingers and realigns them. Afterward, 81 covers the mouth of a screaming 109, reminding him not to give away their position. Together they remove the pierced soldier from the branch and 81 leaves 109 tending the wound before checking on 7, whose leg is wounded. Everyone is confused by what happened and realizes they need the radio that was with 111, who is currently not with them. While the recruits help each other with the bandages, 81 goes out to look for 111. After seeing several dead bodies, he finally finds 111, but unfortunately he's dead and the radio has been destroyed. Nearby a soldier is crawling away and the robot follows him until it's close enough to kill him with its laser. Then 81 returns to his team, who has worked hard but failed to help the pierced soldier. The men want a moment to grieve, but 81 tells them the robot is coming and forces them to get moving. They throw ropes over the edge of the next cliff and quickly climb down. 81 waits on the bottom while 7 is slowly lowered by the last soldier. At that moment he sees his compass going crazy, which means the robot is near. Suddenly the machine appears on top of the cliff and opens fire, causing 7 to crash on the ground and killing the other guy, whose torn body falls nearby. The team sticks to the wall as much as possible while the robot scans the area. Unfortunately the laser catches one of their legs, so the 6 remaining soldiers have to start running again. 7 is being carried and screams when he sees the incoming explosive shot by the robot. The team runs as fast as possible as the explosives go off around them, causing them to fall over and over. They never give up and keep on moving until they manage to leave the forest, out of the robot's reach. On an open grassland, they finally stop to rest. The team discusses theories about what's happening while 81 tries to bandage 7's leg, but he freezes at the sight of the blood. 7 comforts him with gentle words, helping him snap out of it. Unfortunately their medicine fell during the attack, so 81 has to adjust the bone without it and 7 passes out because of the pain. Afterward 81 tells the team he saw their real target and it wasn't the robot, so they've accidentally gotten involved in something they can't control. Their best option is to reach the village. 15 thinks it's a bad idea to cross an open field and be exposed, but 81 points out that they have no other choice. After throwing out any non-essential baggage, they keep moving while carrying 7 on a stretcher. Eventually they reach a river with heavy currents, so 81 announces they're installing a zip line. He ties a rope to his back and jumps into the freezing water, only for the currents to start pushing him. 44 loses sight of him for a few seconds, but 81 never stops swimming and after lots of effort, he reaches the other side. Once 81 has secured the line, 15 starts crossing it while pulling 7 along. The stretcher gets stuck on a knot, so 15 has to go back to fix it. In the struggle, one of the stretcher's knots opens and now it's only hanging from one side. 81 and 44 decide to climb from opposite sides to keep balance and together they grab 15 to help him keep up the stretcher. Since everyone is distracted, they don't see the compass malfunctioning again. Soon the robot appears and scans the area before opening fire, causing the whole team to fall into the water. The currents push everyone except for 81, whose leg is stuck on a rope. The robot steps into the water too and gets ready to shoot 81, who quickly cuts the rope with his knife to escape just in time. Whenever the robot shoots, 81 hides underwater to be safe. Nearby 7 is floating away on the stretcher, so 81 swims toward him to catch him. The currents are still too strong though, so they throw everyone down the waterfall. 81 makes sure to swim to grab 7 again, only to pass out. Minutes later the team finds themselves on the shore. It turns out they were saved by 60, who explains he was blown into the rapids during the first robot attack. He thought everyone was dead, so he traveled until he saw the survivors coming down the waterfall. After seeing another body in the water, 81 announces it's time to keep moving. After hours of walking through the hills and the forest, 81 stops the team when he finds a trap. It's a rope on the trees connected to a flare, which means it was set up by their sergeants as part of the original mission. They dodge it and keep walking until they finally reach the village, only to discover it's been destroyed by the robot. The antenna is broken, explaining why columns don't work. 81 tracks the direction of the destruction and looks up the mountain, where he notices dark smoke. The team realizes that the robot came with a fragmented asteroid and therefore it's alien technology. At that moment they hear a voice, so they move some debris and find a sergeant, whose whole body is burned. He only gives them one last look before he dies. There's a tank nearby, so 81 wants to fix it and leave quickly. 15 says they need a minute and complains about 81's lack of feelings, causing 81 to snap. He grabs 15's by his clothes and explains that after the incident, he didn't make it back to the base. He woke up in a hospital and his brother was already in a box on a plane. Doctors told him that he passed out 100 yards from the perimeter, so his brother died because 81 couldn't last a little longer. He thinks the medal only signifies the worst day in his life. 81 understands everyone's feelings, but this isn't about them anymore. They need to return to the base to warn the world about the alien threat. At first 15 can only stare at how everyone is inspired by 81's words and rush to help. The tank still won't start, so 15 decides to finally jump in and uses his mechanic knowledge to get the tank going. The guys use a rope to pull the tank out of the debris, and the shaking opens a compartment with some food that 44 immediately shares. At that moment a flare appears in the sky and the team realizes that the robot must have stepped on the trap. Everyone rushes to get in the tank except for 15, who goes back to grab some ammo. The robot appears and opens fire at him, killing him right after he throws the ammo into the tank. 44 drives the tank through the forest while the guys use the ammo to open fire, but it seems human weapons don't cause any damage to it. The robot's attacks keep hitting the tank, so 44 forces the vehicle to go as fast as possible. When part of the tank catches on fire, the team immediately puts it out with an extinguisher, but clearly the armor can't last much longer. To the team's surprise the robot suddenly stops following them, but that's because it's shooting more explosives. The bombs explode around the tank and throw everyone around, causing them to hit their heads on the walls. Yet 44 never stops driving. When the robot shoots several grenades, the resulting explosion is finally big enough to push the tank down the hill. It crashes into every tree in the way until it manages to leave the forest, and the team doesn't see the robot behind them anymore. Unfortunately, this is because the robot is now above them. It jumps off the cliff and lands in front of the tank to shoot a powerful laser beam. 44 manages to dodge it, however the robot starts chasing them again. The guys fire back at it with any weapon they can find, but it's still useless and 109 ends up losing an arm in the process. The robot then shoots the laser beam again and 44 tries her best to dodge it, but the tank still loses half its armor. 7 suddenly slips out and 81 grabs the stretcher's rope to keep it close, however another shot from the robot makes him lose it and 7 falls on the road. 81 then shoots at the mountain to cause a landslide that buries the robot. At that moment, the tank explodes. Another nightmare shows the brothers on the ground and 81 hearing his sibling telling him not to quit. Then 81 wakes up and searches the area. Unfortunately everyone has been burned to death and he's the only survivor. Seeing some sparks on the rocks, 81 rushes to move them to look for the robot, but he only finds one of its arms. When he turns around, he sees the rest of the robot sending a signal to space. Afterward 81 runs to the road and finds 7 still on the stretcher. Suddenly the robot shoots at the tank before approaching it, so 81 runs away with 7. For the next several hours, 81 keeps pulling the stretcher, refusing to abandon his teammate. He moves under heavy rain and gets stuck in the mud, where the rope breaks. He slips a few times before his watch starts beeping, indicating the 24 hours to finish the mission are over. At that moment 7 wakes up and reveals he used to be in the same team as 81's brother, who never shut up about being a ranger. 7 thinks 81 hasn't failed because he's never given up. Their chat is interrupted by the robot scan, and 81 notices there's smoke coming out of it, which means it's venting. He also sees the quarry nearby, which gives him an idea. After hiding 7, 81 rushes to the private quarry where he finds dynamite, a flare gun, and a remote that controls the rock carrier. The robot soon enters the forest and almost finds 7. However 81 shoots the flare and the robot goes to the quarry instead. As soon as it arrives at the quarry, the dynamites blow up and make the robot collapse. Then 81 comes out in a bulldozer and pushes the robot to trap it against the wall. As the robot tries to fight back, 81 activates the carrier so rocks start falling on top of it. The robot soon activates its thrusters and manages to push the bulldozer to move away from the wall. It also gets the laser beam ready, however 81 speeds up and pushes it into the wall again. Although the bulldozer is starting to fail, this time it manages to hold the robot up long enough for the rocks to block its vents, causing it to overheat inside. As a last desperate attempt, the robot shoots down a tower that falls on top of the bulldozer, but thankfully 81 jumps out just in time. The overheating then causes the robot to blow up, triggering a chain of explosions thanks to the hidden dynamite. The robot collapses and finally shuts down, but its compartment accidentally opens and explosives fall out. 81 runs as fast as possible and manages to leave the quarry right before the flames activate those bombs into an even bigger explosion. The next morning, 81 carries 7 on his shoulders to the base, where he finds utter chaos and bodies everywhere. Some helicopters are also dropping alien machine parts. After the doctors take 7 away, Sheridan tells 81 that they just secured this base and they lost half the battalion. The alien robots were everywhere and humanity managed to neutralize the first wave, but they're now getting ready for a global invasion. On the news, footage from all over the world shows asteroid fragments landing in different countries to release the robots. Political leaders are gathering to make a plan and allied forces of all kinds are teaming up. 81 tells Sheridan about the robot's ventilation system being the weak spot and the information is immediately sent to every country. Sheridan says this intel will save lives and officially welcomes 81 as a ranger. Afterward, 81 gives a speech for the ranger team before they all leave together in the helicopters, ready to fight. When he falls asleep, he dreams about a bonding moment with his brother instead of the usual nightmares. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thanks for watching.